Hello, Algorators. It's Wednesday, Hump Day Wednesday, and we have an incredibly informative show for you tonight. I'm Al Reynolds, and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'll be serving as your judge, and as you know, here in the Court of Public Opinion, you, the people, and the viewers will be serving as the jury. All right, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you've already subscribed. Hit that share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications and jump down in these comments because we want to hear from you. All right, let's introduce our two legal beagles that will be joining me this Hump Day Wednesday. First up, we have the civil attorney, the fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hey, Algorators.
And also joining us tonight, we haven't seen her in a while, entertainment attorney Jay Carter. Jay Carter, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be back.
All right. Oh, she's so serious. All right. First up, YG. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. YG has been charged or was arrested on a DUI in Burbank, California. He was likely subjected to a blood test instead of a breathalyzer because the law officers felt that there was something more than alcohol involved. Attorney Shatan Turner, talk to us about, I didn't know that if you got pulled over for a DUI, that you in fact could be requested to give blood samples. When did this come about?
Yeah, so it came about quite a while ago, and it's the case in most of the states. So there is a presumption that if you are driving on the roads of a given state, that you give your implied consent to be tested if you get pulled over for a DUI. The most common thing is the breathalyzer that everybody's familiar with. However, there are also those other tests. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever been pulled over. I've only seen it on TV. However, they make you walk a line. They try to find other evidence that you are impaired. And one of the most reliable methods is a blood test. So in California, one of the elements of having your blood get tested is if there is something other than alcohol I can't talk tonight, suspected of being in your system. The other thing is, though, is that if you refuse to give a breathalyzer, so even though there is implied consent, right, based on you driving on the roads, you still have the ability to say, I do not consent to blowing on that piece of plastic that they give you for the breathalyzer. We're going to talk about some other cases today where refusing to blow may have been indicated in those situations too. But anyway, you refuse to cooperate with the breathalyzer. You refuse to get your blood tested. The police can get a warrant, and that's been supported by the U.S. Supreme Court, that can actually require a medical professional to take your blood to test it to see what's in your system and which interfered with your ability to drive. In this case, YG had a Lamborghini, so brother was doing all right? You can't just get a Lamborghini down there at the get-go, as they have in Pennsylvania. And so he was doing all right, but he hits the curb. He's standing out there looking guilty, and they say, you know what, bruh, we want to test you. And so that's what happened.
So let me hear if I'm understanding you correctly, which I didn't know this. I'm learning so much from doing this show. Like, I didn't know until I worked at the bank that when you fill out your opening documents that you agree to certain things. Like, if your money is put into your account by mistake, you have to give it back. And if not, you could be sued. The bank could garnish your wages or whatever. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, when I fill out that application of a driver's license, and I take that driver's license as proof of a driver's license, I am also saying that they have the right to test me if I'm driving the highways and get pulled over. Did I hear that correctly?
You did hear it correctly. And you also heard something else. It's by virtue of you completing your driver's license, if you're somebody who has the driver's license that was issued by the state of California. And then it also applies to other drivers that choose to avail themselves of the California roads. So it's by virtue of you driving in California that it's presumed that you would you give your implied consent that you would cooperate by having a breathalyzer or by having your blood tested in the event that you're
That
pulled
you
over.
pulled over.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you still can refuse. So algoriters need to understand refusal remains. This is still these United States, not Russia, right? And so you refuse, but if you do, they can get an order or a warrant.
And that is to draw the blood instead.
Right. Yeah, they can get a warrant that requires them to be able to forcibly take out the blood. And also, just so that we're clear, you can test blood alcohol levels with a breathalyzer, with blood, as we've discussed, and there also could be a urine test. But chances are, if you're refusing to blow, you're not going to pull out your penis either, if you're one.
Well, okay. Well, we're going to talk about people pulling out their penises later. All right, next up, Pras Mitchell and Lauryn Hill. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Guys, Pras Mitchell is suing Lauryn Hill for fraud, breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duties, accounting and fraud, and inducement. He's saying that all of these claims are related to the 2023 Fugees tour. Now, according to Pras, Hill had full control over the tour's financials, leading to mismanagement and unpaid expenses like hotel bills and crew payment. An entertainment attorney, Jay Carter, jump in here and tell us what is really going on here and why. Like, how many? I'm just, this whole band, as talented as she is, as talented as they are, as famous as they still are, I just want to throw them in the trash can. Like, can they get anything right? Attorney Jay Carter, talk to me here, please.
Well, first of all, we all know everybody's, for the most part, coming to see Lauryn, right? I don't think anybody's really coming to see anybody else, even though I love Wyclef. And so that's part of the issue here, right? She holds a lot of the power on these tours. I even saw her perform this past BET Awards live, and she was on time and she did really, really well. And she brought down the house. So when she performs, she performs. And so she holds a lot of the power in these contracts. I believe she's getting 60%. And she's getting 40% off top. And then Wyclef and Pras has to share the other 60%. They're actually only getting 30% each. So she negotiates that off top. And so all contracts, touring contracts, have certain clauses. And if you don't meet certain things, if you don't show up, if you don't put in certain contingencies, she could be easily sued for breach of contract if she is going against the terms of her very own contract. I'm not sure, other than some diehard fans, like you said, are going to continue to put up with them saying they're going on tour and then them canceling and having to refund tickets. I think that leaves a poor taste. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has a breach of contract claim. 9 times out of 10, they'll probably mediate and settle this. I don't think this is going to go through the court system. But it is interesting that, you have this group that just can't move forward on tour together. It just seems like at all costs, it just never works out.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a curse. Attorney, what do you think about this?
I'm a fan. I'll admit I'm a fan. And I have to say, to Jay Carter's point, all over Facebook, people who have shown up to shows and they haven't shown up are mad and say, don't do it anymore. So their inclination to go to shows might dry up. Maybe they'll just become a studio group. But I thought this was interesting that, Mr. Michelle is saying that Lauryn Hill mismanaged the setup, marketing, and budgeting of the money from their tour, whatever they made. And it was a veiled and devious attempt to make a big score for herself, adding that she secretly siphoned money from the tour guarantees. And so he's suggesting that somehow there was some scheme or conspiracy from the beginning. If I were representing Lauryn, and that might be your next question, I would say, to Jay Carter's point, that the percentages that they were supposed to get of the money was set up and that she was just doing a favor for everybody. She didn't promise anybody fiduciary duty. She's not their agent. She just was the person who was getting the checks. And if it was mismanaged, it was a mistake and it wasn't intentional.
I don't like it.
Well,
something about it just don't sound right to me. First of all, I understand that she's the largest talent here. I understand that she's probably the biggest draw here, but I would not give any artist control over the finances. It just would never happen. I would have an independent CPA or hire an independent business manager or a tour manager to do the finances. Why would you have an artist who can't even show up to work on time, like, and not just 30 minutes, but hours late? Why would you put them in charge of the finances?
Your Honor, can I make an important point? And I'm
Sure.
not trying to put you on blast, sir, but you used to work on Wall Street. Not everybody thinks like you. So they probably thought that Lauren was the best with the numbers and that she was going to do them right. And then she ended up making a mistake. But I do agree with you. Like, everybody knows what late is. And if she's hours late, she could have been late paying their expenses and stuff. So
Right.
let's just be clear. You are a heightened sense of financial management. Let's just put that out there. I don't know if Algorators knew, but Mr. Reynolds got some skills.
Also, you also have to, as Shatan said, you have to show intent with fraud. Fraud is a big claim. I mean, breach of contract, okay, but fraud, you have to show that someone intended to deceive. I don't think he's gonna have the evidence to support that. So he may want to just rest his laurels on the breach of contract.
I just don't understand. Is there a curse over this group? One of the most successful groups in music history. Is there a curse because they can't seem to get it back on track? They can't seem to get it together. What's the solution here? Anyone?
The chemistry that made them famous as a group is not the chemistry that's going to line their pockets. So the secret to them fixing this is for somebody to hire a personal manager for Lauren. They keep her hydrated, they get her naps, and they make sure she shows up on time to perform. Because as Attorney Carter indicated, like, when she shows up, it's magic. Right? That's the only problem here. She's not showing up, so they lost the gigs. And then, to your point, don't make her responsible for the money. Like, get a virtual assistant in Thailand or India or something, right? Have them be the one in charge of the money and keep it clean.
Right. All right. Sheesh. I just and to think that this used to be one of my favorite groups of all times. All right, next up, a good friend of mine, Nene Leakes. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. In Georgia, her bank account has been garnished for her unpaid commercial lease payments because, they said, Miss Leakes, your store, Swag Boutique, missed a couple of payments and we want our money. Right? They issued the creditor requested a garnishment order, and it was granted. However, Ms. Leakes said, "Listen, I ain't have nothing to do with that. That was Greg Leakes who signed that lease, and Greg is no longer here." Entertainment attorney Jay Carter talked to us about this. And is it true, if her husband was the one that signed the lease, why is she held responsible?
Well, in this case, she's being held responsible for two reasons. One, she was actually listed as a co-tenant on the lease. So they're kind of going after her almost like a co-signer along that line. But bigger than that, because Greg passed away, she's in charge of his estate. And that estate had a debt, which is this lease amongst probably some other things. And so as the executor, you could be held liable for that debt. And so yes, she was his wife at the time of his death. She's the executor of this estate that has this debt and probably some other debts. It seems like what's interesting, she didn't really fight it. I think she said, "Hey, I don't have anything to do with it." But it's almost like she didn't go to court and really contested this going through the way it went through. I think she was like, if they want the money, they're just going to have to come and find it. And child, they found it. They found her Wells Fargo bank account or her Bank of America account, and they took that money. But yeah, it was interesting. She didn't really fight it because I think she was just like, I don't even want to deal with it. But even when you let this be a lesson, even if you ignore court proceedings going up against you, you just say, I don't have anything to do with it. That's not enough to make it go away. And so it was almost like a default garnishment thing because she didn't contest what she was supposed to properly contest in court. She just said, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't sign it. But that wasn't enough for it to not go through. So here we are. She's $25,000 less, but she's fabulous. She has plenty of money. I actually don't think, I think this is a drop in the bucket. I don't really think she's going to care. I mean, it seems a little embarrassed to have your account garnished, obviously, but she is the Nene Leakes, so she'll be okay.
She'll be all right. Attorney Turner, answer me this, because I didn't know this. Is it true that you can be married to someone, all right, and say you're not the executor of their estate? Maybe they made the oldest child the executor of their estate, but if at their demise, if they were left insurance money, if they were the beneficiary of their insurance, is that how it made her responsible for his debt?
There are a variety of ways that it can happen. So I know that when you were a little boy down in Virginia, you spent your fair share of time in Sunday school. And you recall that when they talked about marriage, they said when two become one, right? So that's
Right.
the first issue, is on what basis can a spouse be held responsible for the debts accrued during a marriage, even after the spouse dies? And when you phrase it like that, it becomes easier to understand why Nene may have been found liable for her husband's debts, because they were accrued during the marriage. To the extent that she was executor, as Attorney Carter indicated, that's one way. To the extent that his finances were commingled with hers because they had joint accounts, that's another way that that can happen. She could have been found to be a partner of some sort in the business itself. So that's another way that she could be found liable. So there's a bunch of legal theories that can be used to have a spouse be found responsible for the debt accrued during the marriage after the other spouse dies. So the algoriters might be saying, like, look, I love my husband. I love him to my heart. But I ain't trying to pay for his debt. So the easiest way to ensure that is to take appropriate action during life, right? So in this case, there should have been separate business accounts related to this company that Greg had, and made sure that Nene was not, couldn't even be argued to be a part of it. And so then the money to pay for it would come from whatever business accounts they were. And to take it even further, if your spouse, I mean, I'm not a marriage counselor, clearly, but if your spouse is engaged in some kind of like potentially shady dealings, then don't commingle your finances with theirs. So if you want to have a joint account to pay for like household expenses, have that, but then keep the majority of your assets separate. So if something happens to them or happens to their business venture, it's very clear what's yours and what belonged to that business venture or your spouse.
Gotcha. Okay, so this I do want to talk about, because I know some of the algoriters may be in this situation. You got to also understand that there are a lot of people who are married, but they are separated, but they're still married because they couldn't afford a divorce. I want you to be very clear that you have to make sure, and I guess I'll let one of the lawyers speak to this, because I had a very close friend who they couldn't afford a divorce. They separated, for 10 years. They kind of all did their own thing, but upon their husband's demise, all the creditors came after her because they were still legally married. Is this true?
It sounds like it is. It happened to your friend.
I know, but I'm just saying, how crazy is that?
Well, because you're not, until you're divorced, you're not divorced. You can't be separated. That's not enough. Unless the court, well, one way you can get around it, you could do what Kim K did, and you have the courts legally recognize you as a single person. So your divorce is still going on, but you're considered a single person. Then you can do that. But the court.
What if you can? I like that. I like that advice right there. But what if you cannot afford a divorce and you just go your separate ways? You tell people that you're divorced, but you're not legally divorced.
Look, if you can't afford getting a divorce, you can go pro se and file a piece of paper, child. Now, I don't know. I feel like if you can't afford a divorce, you shouldn't be getting married. I mean, I don't know. I don't know those situations, because to me, you saying for 10 years, like I can say maybe the first 2 years, but to me, either you don't really want to get the divorce, or you're taking, to your point, the risk of staying married to someone that you can be held liable for their stuff during that time. You're separated but not divorced. So the lesson should be, get a divorce, be, pro se or with a cheaper attorney, or just have the courts acknowledge you as a single person until you can work it out.
Well,
All
life's
right. And
complicated though. Like, so it might be that they're not divorced because they can't afford it. It might be that they're not divorced because they can't agree on the division of assets. Like, there's a variety of reasons, but here's where I think the algoriters need to understand is that you can't apply project rules if your goal is to not be liable for your spouse's debts. So, at a minimum, there needs to
project rules, counselor.
like Pookie and Ray Ray them, and how they have
oh my God, I thought that's what she was saying.
Project rules.
project rules. That's what I'm saying. People be out here living large and using project rules to divide their assets and rule their lives. And it is a mistake. So at a minimum, you want to go to the court and file something indicating that there is a separation date. Because if there's a separation date that's honored by the court, then that can help you prove to creditors and everyone else that after that point, you no longer were intended to be married. That's what happens in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, there's no such thing as legal separation. But once you file for divorce with a separation date, that remains the date unless it's disputed. Other states, actually, legal separation is a legal status of a relationship, but it's not just because you decided to pack up your Victoria's Secret and your Louboutins and move across the street. That is not a separation. That is just a temper tantrum. You have to do something through the courts to legalize it so that you don't find yourself in these unfortunate predicaments. And to Attorney Carter's point, if people are telling you, so listen out here, ladies, algoriters, if the man is telling you that he's not divorced because he can't afford to get a divorce, he shouldn't be dating, and chances are it's a lie.
Amen.
I forgot we don't need to add any of these stories to the docket with our attorney with what she's going through right now. All right, everybody. The likes ain't liking. Be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the fiery attorney Turner and the entertainment attorney Jay Carter, throw in that chat, that fire emoji. And with Jay Carter, it's the what's
Stars.
your emoji?
Stars.
The stars. And throw in that fax machine because we bring the facts to you as it relates to the law and your rights as it relates to the law. All right, don't forget to jump down in these comments because we're going to get to the portion of the show that we get to answer any questions that you may have. So any of our divorcees or maybe going through a divorce will have any questions, be sure to jump in the chat here tonight. All right, next up, and this story is really saddens me. Casey Amos and Shannon Amos, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Your husband, John Amos, the beloved actor known for his role in Good Times and Roots, has passed. But he passed 45 days ago. All right, I'm going to throw this to you, Jay Carter, because I think you have a very strong understanding of this. Is there, the sister Shannon said that KC was elder abuse and financial exploitation. We know that John Amos came on live, denied it, told her to take down the GoFundMe account. Now she's going back to the same thing, saying that she has some concerns. Because who doesn't tell their family members that their father has passed for 45 days? The interesting twist in this is that John Amos has been cremated. Attorney Jay Carter, bring us up to speed with this case and tell me, is there a case to be had by the sister and other family members surrounding how Casey Amos has handled the death of John Amos?
Well, I think someone just put it in the comments. The son has run off with all the church's money. That is a summary of what allegedly probably has happened here. So just a little background. The son, was overseeing his dad's care up until this point. And probably, I don't know, I don't have the exact date, but recently, before he passed away, he actually accused his daughter of elder abuse in a response to her accusing the brother of elder abuse. So she accused the brother first, and then he stuck up for the son and said, "Oh,
Right.
no, she's the one doing the elder abuse." Essentially, nothing physical, but like with the finances and managing his care and things like that. So this was not, unfortunately, a good relationship into his death, I think, which is unfortunate because child didn't even know her father was dead for 45 days. So now there's no way.
A month and a half.
I just think it's crazy, but I think we have to look at this case from two perspectives. Number one, from an estate perspective, as it relates to now that he's passed away, he was cremated. People didn't know now that he's passed, there is a will. I'm sure there's a trust. There's some documents that daughter and any other family members that have the right, have rights to, they have a right to look at those documents. And if he cannot be trusted while the man is alive, I can only imagine how he's going to handle those documents now that he's passed away. So they may want to, I don't know who the executor is. Again, they haven't released those details, but if he hid for 45 days that the man was dead, trust to believe he's going to hide some of the details of John Amos's will, estate, and last wishes. We also should take a look at, or they should take a look at, if anything was changed up until his death. Because if the will was changed, you can claim that it was under duress or coercion, and it should be thrown out. So again, there could be even a second version of the will they may have to toss out or look at. So there's a lot of estate things that are going to happen next with this. It kind of reminds me of the Prince case. Prince didn't have any children. He wasn't married at the time. So everything got split between his sister and brother. But it took almost, I think, 2 years for them to figure that out, because they had to figure out the things about the will. Even Aretha Franklin, they had to decide, was it the will in the couch, or was it the will in the desk? They had to figure, they had to figure out which one, reigned supreme. So I say that all to say that this is now going to be, we can't bring him back. We can't uncremate him, resume the body, or anything like that, as folks have stated at this point. But we can, as they say, follow the money, follow the documents. I think it'll tell us everything that was going up to this point. And I'm hoping, the daughter and other family members will do that.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Shatan, counselor. Who has the right to cremate a body?
So the
executor
responsibility for the body, well, the decisions related to the body flow through who the decision maker was for the person when they were alive, right? And
right.
So and this is where it gets to be complicated. And this may be what the daughter is saying, that if he did not have a will or a healthcare advance directive. So for the algoriters, you need to understand that there's a healthcare advance directive that you can have. It's often called a healthcare power of attorney, but there are different flavors of them. So healthcare advance directive is the more broad term. That is the document that can be used to decide who your decision maker is going to be for you during your life. It usually is two parts. The healthcare power of attorney tells who can make the decisions, and then the living will component tells what they're allowed to do, right? So that would be how you would designate one person. In the absence of a piece of paper like that, then generally in the states, there is a hierarchy of decision makers who make decision for you, and your children tend to have equal authority at that level. So that may be one question that the daughter's asking. If she doesn't know of this healthcare power of attorney, she may be questioning how the body was cremated in the first place without her knowledge. The other thing, in terms of what Jay Carter's saying, in terms of following the money, that I have seen at times is there is an incentive on the part of the person who's taking care of the elderly person to not disclose the death, because that may alter the money that they're getting. So the person who's taking care of them may be getting paid from Social Security and other types of benefits that flow to them because the person is alive. And once those entities are notified of the death, then it stops and it goes into whatever in the will. And if what's in the will doesn't keep them at the same level, then there's an incentive to not disclose the death.
That is good. That's a good thought. Oh, how sneaky is that? But we're
Also,
not saying
I
that that's
well,
like
here's the thing.
Casey.
Also, I think here with as it relates to the daughter, separately from this estate stuff, I feel like she could sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress because if my parent passes away and you don't tell me, that's an open and shut case of intentional. He did that on purpose. That was not done by accident. So separately
But
from
that would have to prove severe emotional harm, right?
you don't think it's severe emotional harm to not tell me that my parent, my father has died. I didn't get to go to the funeral. I didn't get to see him before he was cremated.
So
I
what would the courts order? Psych
damages, money,
evaluations? No,
money.
I'm saying psych examinations to prove that you
Oh
had
yeah, you
severe
could. I mean,
emotional harm.
I think on the surface it's intentional infliction of emotional distress, but I think I think you would obviously bring in maybe a psychologist or something. And again, I don't know if she may just focus on the will stuff at this point, but I definitely feel like what he did was
That was intentional.
Yeah,
All right.
you would show that she had a relationship with her dad, right? And so that her brother was aware that she had a relationship with her dad, and by intentionally withholding that information, it was his intent to cause her distress. It wouldn't be a huge stretch, assuming that they had a relationship. Now, if you found out that they were estranged, right, and they weren't
Mhm.
really talking, then that would be a defense to him. But there's something fishy about this, and some other family members have come forth alleging this elder abuse that they're saying occurred to Mr. Amos. And I mean, we all in Chambers, remember, we were lamenting about like this was America's dad, right? This was
Right.
JJ's father. He was all of our fathers. Even y'all down in Martinsville being light skinned. But yeah, he was, we all have affection for him. And so it's unfortunate that his last days sounds like they weren't peaceful as we would have
Yeah,
hoped.
it's just like all this craziness. All right, everybody. Next up, I guess he's never going to leave the court of public opinion. So we're just going to call this section "Did he do it? Did he do it?" Update. Yep. Sean Diddy Combs, welcome back to the court of public opinion. And gosh, there's so much going on. He faces 120 new accusations of sexual assault, including 25 involving minors. These claims span over 2 decades and involve incidents that allegedly occurred at various events, including after parties as well as audition. Also, we're going to welcome into the court of public opinion Tony Busby. He's a high-profile Texas-based attorney known for handling major cases and working with influential clients. Many have been talking about him looking kind of ambulance chasing like attorney, but let me tell you, this guy is no one to sleep on. Remember, he represented the former Texas governor, Rick Perry. Attorney Jay Carter, I'm going to you, our entertainment attorney. Tell me what is going on and give me the breakdown of the 120 cases and what does that mean? Is it civil or criminal?
So in this case, hi Diddy, welcome back to Court of Public Opinion. I don't think you ever gonna leave, child. So this is definitely civil. As you mentioned, there are 120 cases, 60 male, 60 female, and they narrowed the 120 down from over 3,000 calls they got when they opened up a hotline for Diddy. And I think Attorney Busby opening up a hotline made it very ambulance chasing. I think some people didn't respect it. Some people felt like by opening a hotline, it made it open to people that perhaps did not have serious inquiries and they were just bandwagoning. So I think it's the appearance of how he did it that is having some people kind of side eye all this. I also want to clarify, these are just allegations, right? They have not actually filed any complaints. There are no 120 complaints. This is what he's saying he is planning to file over the next 30 days. And 30 days, that 120 number may decrease because they may continue to vet these cases and that not be the case, right? That the case is strong enough to move forward. or it may increase because now, child, he didn't open up a hotline. So who knows who's going to call claiming Diddy did something to them. So it's really interesting what's going on here. I also would like to point out that this isn't a class action. I think some people thought, oh, this is a class action sexual assault. No, it's not a class action. He's announcing them all at once in this press conference. But in fact, he's going to file each of these 120 claims on behalf of each plaintiff in each of the respective
And
states.
each of the states.
Right,
That's,
so
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to take on for something.
it's a lot to take on, and he's not
This
charging
is what,
nobody up front. So
right, but this is the deal. This is what's got me the most concerned about this particular case. Of the 120 people, 55 of these, what do you call, victims, allegedly, have police reports to go with their claims. Attorney Shatan Turner, tell me, how explosive is this for the defense? Not only in Diddy's case, but also we know that Diddy is applying to appeal his bail. Is this going to help it any?
No, 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 no. It is. So Diddy's in trouble, and the hole just keeps getting deeper. So, as it relates to the denial of bail, I was reading today, and it makes perfect sense that this person was opining one of the reasons why they deny bail for Diddy is because they suspect he's going to get out, get on the phone, start intimidating people, and start getting his lackeys to go and strong arm people, because that was his way of keeping this secret before. And so that is likely before the judge, and it's influencing them denying bail. So this isn't just like R. Kelly. I mean, R. Kelly liked to feel people up, urinate on them, and have a good time, but nobody said that he was like the Nino Brown of R&B. That is really what the allegations are about Diddy, that he was rolling out there like a thug, intimidating people, drugging people, and trying to keep them quiet. And so that's why the bail was denied. And the more these other cases come out, I think the more incentive there is for the judge to keep denying the bail based on the volume of accusations. The other thing is the facts themselves, right, in toto just keep creating this impression that he was a man out of control, hungry for power, wielding his power and using it to intimidate and to engage in these bad acts. And so I just think it's getting worse, not better for him. I think that as it relates to the conversation we had the other night about him testifying, I think that being helpful to him is becoming a worse and worse option, given the fact that his image is becoming so tarnished. And I'm not really sure what he can do to rehabilitate it. I mean, look at Bill Cosby, right? He got convicted, right? And there weren't nearly as many people against Bill Cosby, right? Not nearly as many people. I mean, there's coming out against Diddy like as many people that go to a small HBCU in Texas, right? Like, it's a lot of people.
You know what, attorney? And I probably taught at that HBCU.
I'm just saying.
But this is my issue. I know that we're laughing about this, but it's actually very sad. And we were talking about this in the chambers. I am disgusted that an attorney, a well-known attorney, did a press conference and is accusing this man of having a 9-year-old perform oral sex on him. I'm devastated. I mean, you would think that a lawyer can't go on, have a national press conference on national television and make something like this up. Wouldn't that like jeopardize his career? Would that jeopardize his license? And if it's not jeopardizing it, then there may be some sense of truth to it. What do we think about that?
Well, I think we have to keep in mind that just because you write something in a complaint, because these children that were, I think 25 of them of the 120 are minors. And of the 25, we don't know who actually had medical reports, because I think someone asked, well, if there was a medical report on a minor, he would have went to jail immediately. I agree. I don't know if any of the minors have police reports and or medical reports. I have a feeling that's probably the adults that are part of the 120. But just setting that aside for just a second, his youngest in this group of 25 minors of the 120 are 9 and 14-year-old. Just to clarify, yeah, I believe, and again, this is from what I can recall. I recall them saying, again, allegedly, both a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old, again, that represents 25 of the minors in this suit, or that were minors at the time, were promised record deals in exchange for sexual favors. And so I don't know if the fellatio actually occurred, but at least with one of the minors, he was asked. And did he actually do it? I don't know. But even being asked, that's disgusting. So I think what we have to do is hang tight. And let's wait for these complaints, because when these complaints come out, they will be public, and we will be able to read specifically what happened with the minors. I think for now, I think the lawyer is taking a very PR approach by throwing that in there, because now everybody is sitting on their edge of their seat waiting to see these new complaints, because now they know it's going to include minors. It's also going to include, I just want to mention, other celebrities. They have made it very clear that other celebrities will be named as defendants. So it's not going to just be Diddy up in the court of public opinion soon. You're going to have some other faces up there. So he will not be the only defendant moving forward. So I can't wait to see that as well.
Right. Speaking of other celebrities, why would anybody give Diddy? What did Usher's family gave Diddy? What was it? To live with him.
Oh yeah.
What is that called?
It's guardianship, and Bieber had it too.
Yeah, guardianship.
Bieber gave guardianship too.
Would you, after listening to this, I mean, come on, like,
nobody is sending their kids nowhere to Diddy's house. Even if he gets out.
Somebody in the chat said, Lizzie Lee said, R. Kelly is a saint compared to Diddy. Yes, he is. And that is, I'm going to tell you, I'm not saying that, you can abuse women, you can, be.
No, I hear what you're saying, but minors is a whole new territory. I get it.
That type of stuff is unacceptable. But the reason why I brought that up is, it does make sense, in the sense that, they said Justin Bieber after Usher, and Usher was the one that told Justin Bieber to come into the fold and let Diddy be your guardian so that you could be a star. Like, it's just, everything is just so close, and all of the stories are all the same. It just appears to me.
Well, yeah, it's very similar.
Like in entertainment in Hollywood. I mean, that thirst for the limelight and for the spotlight can be all consuming. So, I mean, I don't know what, if anything, happened to Justin Bieber or to Usher, but the notion that you would send your child to live with some other adult and their only qualification for being in charge of them is that they happen to be in a rap video and do A&R for a music company, like, that's kind of surprising to me, but it's happened that way. Kids went to live with R. Kelly too. I mean, the moral to the story, algoriters, is don't be sending your kids to live with no grown-ass man just because they're gonna make them famous. But one of the things to remember about child abuse, right? So we have these kind of sensational allegations that have yet to be proven, but like in Pennsylvania, for example, the sexual assault and sexual abuse of children is triggered even without physical sexual contact with that child. So it can also be triggered if the child is in the room and there's sexual acts occurring. So I think that it's not a stretch to say that it's likely that there was some abuse of children in some flavor if you look at the actual letter of the law for the statute. And so this is just going to get worse for P. Diddy.
This is one of the best infotainment shows have to say that I have ever created. I learned something from you all the time. Like seriously, I feel like I missed out. I may have should have gone to law school or something. Or you all are just so quick and so smart and like pull on stuff so easily as it relates to these cases. And it just, to me, thank you, because you're teaching me a whole lot. I did not know that a physical something did not have to happen with a minor. That's crazy.
Showing
That's
the child
crazy.
porn, showing like it's a whole lot of things that are maybe not well known or intuitive for people that actually constitute child abuse. And so, not that normal people would do such things, but if anybody has any question about what constitutes child abuse, read the statute in your state so that you have clarity about it.
All right, there you have it, everybody. All right, it's that part of the show that we go to you, the jury, to answer any of your questions. First up, we have Lee Flies. What about a bifurcated divorce? What is that?
Bifurcated.
Bifurcated divorce. The funds are still separated?
So generally for the bifurcated divorces, they're bifurcating the divorce from the distribution of assets. And so I don't quite understand the question. But if the question is, could that spouse still be held responsible? Because we're blurring it a little bit. If this question was motivated by the Nene Leakes discussion, that had to do with a spousal death, not a divorce. So I'm not entirely sure where the questions originated. But if the question is in a bifurcated divorce, what happens to the funds? As we discussed, the funds are a function of how they were maintained during the marriage to determine who would be responsible for those underlying debts. I hope that answers the question.
I think it did. All right, Danielle Cameron says, why cremate him so quickly? That is really off. Yeah, I agree, Danielle. That was a point of concern for me as well. But was it quickly? No one found out about his death for 45 days. So we don't know if he was cremated the day he died, a week later. We don't know. We just didn't find out about it for 45 days. Doesn't mean that he was cremated so quickly, right? Okay. Queen Riley, could he have given the money? Could he have gotten the money, and that's why he waited 45 days to make an announcement? Yeah, I think do they mean the insurance money possibly? Who wants to take that?
I mean, I could chime in. It's, as I said, money may have been flowing to him as a function of his father's life, and it continued to flow because he didn't tell anybody that he was dead. So really, it becomes a question of when was the death declared, where did he report it, and what did he get during that time? And then, as Attorney Carter indicated, what happened to the post-mortem documents or the will indicating who is entitled to his assets upon death. I mean, they still, Good Times is syndicated, right? So there must be checks that are flowing from that regularly. What's happening to the money?
No, that's a good point. All right, 901 Cash G. How is Casey Amos not being questioned for his actions? He isolated their father from everyone.
Oh, he's going to be questioned, all right. This is just the beginning. They are, now that they know the man has passed away, the next step for Shannon and anybody else that is probably entitled to something to win. Oh no, he is going to be raked over the coals with questioning, the finances being moved, the documents. So this is the next chapter of this. He definitely will be questioned.
Okay, at 901 Cash G asks Jay Wadley, did they live in the same city? Who, the daughter and Casey? No, they did not. If that's what you're asking, I'm not sure. Danielle Cameron said, what didn't Diddy do at this point? Are the pets safe around him? Is he diddling the cat too during the free calls? Oh God, we hope bestiality
That's
is not.
bestiality. That's bestiality. So I don't know.
Everything is on the table.
I believe so too. I mean, they haven't said it yet, but if it were to come up, it would not surprise me.
You guys are horrible. And then Queen Riley said, will they eventually combine the cases as a class action since there's so many? No.
No, No, they're not going to combine civil sexual assault abuse cases.
Yeah.
They would have to stand on their own in each state on their own facts. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, they make this press conference. We don't know how many of these 120 suits are actually going to make it to this 30-day thing where they're actually going to start filing. I'm interested to see what is going to survive and what additionally will come in.
Right. Has there ever been a class action lawsuit in a sexual assault or sexual abuse case before?
I don't know. But the reason it's unlikely is because class actions have an element of commonality that's associated with it. So what happened to the people has to be like enough to justify putting them together as a class. And there are other elements they have to satisfy too. And as Attorney Carty was indicating, the nature of a sexual assault is so personal and individual, even if they use the same baby oil and they were going in the same doors, right? It's still unique enough that establishing the commonality element would likely be challenging. Now, if everybody was like, one way you could have a freak off, I guess, is if, I mean, not a freak off, but a class action is if somehow, and nobody's alleged this, so I'm just opining algoriters, but if somehow like there was a room full of people and he pushed through some sort of like chemical agent through the sprinkler system or whatever, so everybody got it and everybody had the same impairment at the same time and suffered some injury, then you would have commonality because the same exact thing happened to all the people and you could satisfy that element. But just because he was a monster wielding power and doing sexual assault in similar ways on different days to a bunch of people, you wouldn't be able to satisfy the commonality element, and therefore you wouldn't be able to create a class.
That's interesting. All right, I guess I'll look here for some other questions here. Could this suit a All right, this is Usher. Riri said Usher went on Howard Stern and said in an interview he saw things a child shouldn't see. Could that be used against him in court?
Oh, against Diddy?
Yeah.
I'm likely going to become a witness. So is anybody who happened to be there who is credible will be interviewed and assessed by the prosecution to determine whether their testimony will be used in a lawsuit. And so, quite frankly, if you were at a freak off, you better just wait by the phone or run, because if you don't want to be if you don't want to be testifying, then you shouldn't be found. Not that I'm advocating fleeing the law. Make this a note. Attorney Turner is not advocating fleeing. However, they're going to be looking for you. That's all I'm saying.
901 Cash G said, I thought 3 signatures were required when a parent is cremated. I've never heard that.
No. I mean, I'm not sure if that's something unique in that jurisdiction, but having been through that in New York in December, there was not a 3 signature requirement.
Okay. Jay Wadley said, how long will it take before the first case is or are heard? And I'm assuming that's Diddy.
30 days. They said they're going to start filing. Of the 120 cases, they're going to start in 30 days. So we got 30 days to wait to see what these complaints are going to say.
Now, what if they're talking about the other case?
What other case?
The other case why he's in prison right now, sweetheart.
Oh, the criminal case. I think they're referring to the civil case in the chat. In terms of criminal, I think we talked about this in a few lives back. If he asks for a speedy trial, he'll have a trial within 6 or 7 months. But I don't know if he's asked for a speedy trial. So it could be over a year.
I don't think he should be asking for a speedy trial.
Well, as long as he gets bail, I think he will say no speedy trial. But if he's not going to get bail, he may actually ask for one. We'll see.
All right. Rudy Hushable. What's up, Rudy? Is an autopsy done for every death? Cause of death was likely deemed natural causes?
No.
What's Sean? Is that true? What is that?
No, autopsies are not done for every death. So death is certified and the causes of death are listed based on the physician who cared for the patient. And if there's no reason to either suspect foul play or if there's no additional medical information that's trying to be obtained by the family, then an autopsy is not done. An autopsy is generally done voluntarily by the family. However, there are some triggers. If there's suspicions of criminal activity, then the coroner will do the autopsy. But in this case, it sounds like it did not trigger those criminal inquiries, and the son didn't ask for there to be an autopsy, and so there wasn't one.
All right. 901 Cash G said, do y'all think the extremely famous person on the recording is LeBron James?
Why would we think that?
Because, you know, LeBron made that video that Diddy's parties are the best parties, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I think that's it. All right, everybody. This is a part of the show that we, the judge and our lawyers, issue our verdicts, and you in the jury can add in the chat where you stand on the verdict as well. First up, YG. YG, is YG guilty or not guilty of driving under the influence? Attorney Jay Carter, what say you?
I mean, if the blood test said he had something in his system, you know, you can't fake blood tests, so guilty.
All right, Attorney Shatan Turner.
Look at this whole getup he's wearing. And look at those beady eyes. He's guilty.
Wow. I guess I'm going to be the only one. I'm the judge, and I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in the Court of Public Opinion, and I'm going to find him not guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty, ladies. And also, if there's anything he's guilty of, is driving a Lamborghini while being a black male. That's what I got to say about that. Next up, Lauren Hill and Praz, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Is Lauren Hill guilty or not guilty of misappropriating funds? Attorney Shatan Turner, what say you?
I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to say she's not guilty about the funds until we get more information. I need more information.
All right, Attorney Jay Carter.
I think she's probably not guilty with the fraud and the misappropriation because, again, that's very difficult to prove. But she may be guilty on the breach of contract because we know she's always late.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm going to find Lauren Hill guilty of something. I don't know what it is. Guilty of not being on time, I know for sure. And I know that's got to be a breach of contract somewhere in there. And anybody that's late, I don't think I would put them in charge of my finances. It just wouldn't happen because the venues have to be paid in a timely manner. The hotels have to be paid in a timely manner. The bands and everybody that puts that band together has to be paid in a timely manner. And if she can't show up to make the money, what makes you think she's going to show up to spend the money on what she has to pay for? Guilty. All right, next up, Nene Leakes. Is Nene Leakes guilty or not guilty of paying her lease for her swag shop? Attorney Jay Carter, what say you?
She guilty because she said herself she was guilty. She just said she didn't want to be bothered because she said, you know, that was on Greg. But clearly it's not on Greg. So here we are. They're not garnishing accounts for no reason. So
all right. So Todd Turner, is she guilty or not guilty?
Oh, she's guilty, as Attorney Jay Carter said. Nice smile, though, girl. Love those teeth.
I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in the Court of Public Opinion, and I'm going to find her not guilty because she's my friend, but I am going to find her guilty for trying to put it off on my good friend, Greg Leakes. That was my boy. I had the pleasure of speaking at their funeral, and I also had the pleasure of being in their second wedding. This family is very dear to me, and I wish them the best, and I'm glad that this page has been turned for these two. All right, next up, John Amos. Is it KC or Shannon? Who's guilty and who's not guilty in the, I don't know, keeping the secret of John Amos's death away from the public for 45 days? Attorney Jay Carter, what say you?
The son is clearly guilty. Something is not right in the water. Something has happened. You don't just not tell anybody that the man died. You wait 45 days. You cremate him, even if they cremate him on the 43rd day. You don't cremate someone until you make the announcement, at least to the immediate family, that he's passed away. So he is guilty of something. I just don't know yet. But as I said before, follow the money, follow the paper, and it will give us the full story.
Attorney Shatan Turner, was he guilty or not guilty?
Jay Carter said it all. Guilty.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion. Something in the milk ain't clean. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I mean, I guess he would be guilty of not sharing the information if no one found out until they read it on social media. I don't know. I know that people grieve, but I think that this was very selfish. So I'm going to find him guilty of being selfish if there's no wrongdoing around this, because he was America's dad. We deserve to know. Like, I felt hurt for the family for not knowing for 45 days. You know what I mean? So can you imagine how the family felt? Okay, Casey, I'm going to find you guilty on that. All right, last up, P. Diddy. I don't even know. What do we is there? I mean, what do we say? Guilty or not guilty? Like, what? Somebody help me. Attorney Turner, take this away, please.
So here's what we know about Diddy. Diddy is not mindful. He's not demure. He has been doing all sorts of things that have caught up with him. And like I said, we just need a stamp that says guilty for Diddy, and we can just talk about why.
Jay Carter, is it illegal to be freaky? You've said on numerous times on this show that there's nothing illegal about being freaky.
There isn't, and I'm gonna, because he ain't gonna have nobody take up for him. I'm gonna take up for Diddy this round on behalf of our dear attorney Brian Ross, who's not on the live today. But I'll fill in for attorney Brian, and say that he is not guilty until something is proven. Because in this case, even with civil, it's going to probably preponderance of the evidence, or more likely than not, it's not beyond reasonable doubt, but there has to be some level of proof that even in the civil trial, these complaints have to support. And so far, it's just been a press conference. There are no complaints, right? So because there are no complaints, it was just a press conference by a shiny attorney. I'm just going to say not guilty for now.
Well, I can't say not guilty. I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion. Something's not right here, right? I just thought it was so funny how we were all like, oh, they waiting so long to bring any charges against him. And now the floodgates are open. Like, the floodgates are open. It's no longer smoke here. I mean, there is an actual fire. Now, where that fire is in his house, I don't know, but it's no longer smoke. You know, there's a full-blown fire. And I think the thing that's making me most upset, and because I'm like most people, he's innocent until proven guilty. However, when the introduction of minors came into this and messing with little boys, no, I have no empathy for anybody that messes with little kids. So for me, I'm going to have to find Diddy guilty for doing something wrong. We don't know what it is, but we're going to definitely find out. All right, all our algorithms, be sure to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, hit that share button, because this is a good show that can teach you a lot of things about the law that can also help you. And you can also serve in the jury. Also, don't forget to turn on your notifications, and see you on Friday. Court is now adjourned.